Hey there, Coaches Business Academy. How are you doing, guys? I've just got my radiator on down there. It's a bit of a chilly day today. How are you doing, guys? Welcome to today's training or today's session. Let me I want to be able to see comments, you see. That's why I just see if I can find me on my phone. So how are you doing, guys? Today is a good day. I've actually just back-to-back today, back-to-back. I've just come off a call, managed to finish it at 5 to 2. Give myself a shake, grab a glass of water, straight on it today. So I see somebody's on. How are you doing? Let me know. Say hello in the comments. Let me just very quickly wait for a few people. Hey, Candice is in. Hey, Candice. There I am. So can I see comments? Hello, hello. I see people joining. Just say hello in the comments. Let me know how you're doing. Hey, Candice, love. Okay, so let me just, hey, Stacey, how are you, hun? Good to see you. Thanks for joining me. So today is a very, very, well, it's a great topic, don't you think? And a very, very important one, and one that is very, very, very dear to my heart, from my own personal experience. Hey, Stacey. Oh, bless you. So I don't know why I'm not getting comments on my phone. So I'm going to play with comments, and hopefully I'll have to just keep checking in because I can't seem to see them where I want to see them. So today we're talking about, and I'll be sharing with you some key steps to help you begin the process of clearing debt. So I'll share a bit about kind of my story, because I think it's so important, and I do believe that as entrepreneurs, as coaching entrepreneurs, when we have something in the background, such as in the context, this is debt as our context today, when we have something like debt in the background, and we feel some low level, maybe high level, I don't know, but definitely, even if it's just low level stress or anxiety, it's like a thorn in our side, and it actually makes you play small. Has you playing small, you know, especially for coaches who, you know, we're supposed to have all our shit together, aren't we? And I know we don't. Nobody does. None of us do. But, you know, when we're trying to show up large and in charge, and yet we have this like sack of rocks on our back called credit card debt. So it's such an important thing, because when you actually free yourself from debt, you're able to show up at a whole other level. It's like the alignment, the free flow, just so powerful. And actually, as you do the work to clear yourself from debt, you actually invite in more abundance, more prosperity. Debt is holding you small and actually keeping you in chronic brokenness as well. And I tend to find it doesn't matter how much you earn either, and I'll sort of go into this a bit more detail, but it doesn't matter how much you're earning. It's no reflection of a lack of earnings if you have debt. That's the other thing, you know, it tends to be the more you earn, the more debt you can create sometimes, depending on kind of the cycle you're in. So really, really important topic today. So I'm going to bring up my notes, and I shall keep flicking over to make sure that I can see comments. So guys, welcome. All right, so today's training, 5 steps to creating freedom from crippling debt. And I say crippling debt, it doesn't matter about the amount. So I'm not talking about, you know, multiple thousands if it's not you. I'm talking emotionally crippling debt. So it could just be this insidious £1,000 or $1,000 on a card, or an overdraft that you just can't seem to get rid of. That can be emotionally crippling. So there's no judgment on the amount. It's simply a way of, it's about how we feel about that debt. So if you're experiencing frustration and fear, perhaps because your debt burden feels out of control to you, maybe you feel conflicted and confused. I know I did, when you're working so hard, to stay high vibe, and you're perhaps investing thousands in personal development and courses and programs to teach you how to attract more abundance, how to get more clients, and yet you're still neck deep in debt. It's confusing and it's conflicting. And I know for myself, certainly, and a lot of the clients that I work with in this arena, the debt will control your decisions, whether consciously or unconsciously. Debt is controlling your decisions. It will diminish your confidence, and it weighs really heavily. So if any of that I've just said really resonates with you, then I want you to know that you are not alone, that it is a very common struggle, and it's temporary. It is temporary if you take the steps that I'll be sharing with you in this live stream. And you may also have a sense that you're limiting yourself by your own money stories and self-sabotage. So as hard as you try to figure it out, you just don't know what that issue is. So the first thing I want to say is that whilst it can make you feel terrifically bad, it can really make you feel awful. Debt in and of itself isn't bad. Debt is just debt. That's why some people can feel really burdened by it and stressed out by it, and other people don't. So, hey, Tabassum, how are you, darling? Hey, Michaela's in the house. Nice to see you, lovelies. So debt isn't bad in and of itself. Debt is just debt. It's your associations with debt that is the problem. So we're going to be talking about this throughout this training today, but it's what you associate. It's the meaning that you've given to that debt and how you apply it to yourself. So a credit card balance or an overdraft balance, it is what it is, but it's what you're telling yourself about that and how you've translated it or interpreted it as what it means about you and yourself. So again, we're going to be talking about all of this throughout this training. So I want you to know it's not your fault. Whatever's going on, it is not your fault. I know you might think, well, it is my fault. I went and bought that thing, or I invested on that program and I didn't complete the course or whatever. But actually, it's a lot of this is about upbringing. So money and debt is taboo, a dinner table topic as sex. We've learned to associate such negative meanings to credit cards and debt, and even money. We have negative associations with money that actually it becomes very difficult to break a debt cycle. In fact, you may notice that you perpetuate debt, that the harder you try to clear it, you might get a little bit cleared and then you bounce back in, and we actually perpetuate debt. Why? Because we have an energetic frequency that most commonly, in my experience, is shame. All of my clients have at some level shame in their energetic frequency in the context of money and debt. So it's never a lack of information or budgeting apps or repayment strategies. There's no lack of strategy to repay debt and manage your money. That's not the problem. It's your subconscious associations with debt and money that is generating a frequency called shame, that is the lowest frequency on the human vibrational scale. You could go Google it and check it out. But if you are vibrating, you've got that in your frequency, you're actually going to attract anything that is a match to that frequency called shame. So what would that be? Well, if you feel shame about money and debt, then about debt in particular, then guess what? You're going to attract more debt. because you're matching that frequency, which is why very often for people the debt burden grows year on year. No matter what strategies they apply, the debt burden continues to grow, or you just can't seem to shift it because it's a match to your energetic dominant frequency. So just a bit about my story. I'm 45 this year. And for 23 years, literally from the moment I was able to get a credit card out at the age of 18, I got a credit card. I didn't need one, but for some reason, I just felt compelled to get a credit card. And that was my first sort of foray into credit, using credit to make purchases. And quite literally, I was in debt for 23 years. As a student, that was when I got my credit card out. I was a student. I then got the student loans out, which you didn't need in the days when I was at university because we were funded. University was a right. We got our education paid for, and then we received grants. So there was absolutely no need for me to get out a student loan or get out a credit card. But I got both, and I had no clue how I was going to pay it back. I just assumed that the minute I graduate, I would be able to pay it all off, and I would do. And of course, that didn't happen. So year on year, every New Year's resolution was, I'm going to be debt free. So I actually consciously wanted to be out of debt, but every year I'd get to, Christmas and I was still in debt, if not a little bit more in debt. And so there were moments where I managed to get most of the debt cleared, but then like a rubber band, I would ping straight back into debt. So there was this serious self-sabotage going on. Of course, I didn't know it at the time, but I was just in and out and pinging back and often getting deeper into debt. So by the time I reached my enough is enough moment, I knew I had an awful lot of debt. Around the time that I started to kind of feel the pain of it at a really acute level, I believed I was about 35,000 in debt. That was the mark that I thought I was. And the reason I say I thought I was because I was in denial. I didn't pull out all my numbers. I didn't dare look at all my statements. There were little bits that I just ignored, like 800 here or 2,000 there on little cards thereabouts. Never included them in the full total because I just thought that if I looked at that whole balance, I would be completely overwhelmed and I wouldn't be able to handle it. So I estimated about 35,000. And then what happened was, it was about March time, 2018. I didn't realize how close I'd got to my max on my biggest credit card, which was 18,000, my final bit of credit that I had. I maxed out and on that biggest balance, and a payment got declined. And that for me, I just realized at that point that if I was actually maxed out on the 18,000 credit card, that for me was a rock bottom, a personal rock bottom. My heart was pounding. I just felt the blood drain from my face. I felt sick. I didn't know what I was going to do. And not only that, but I hadn't told anybody. Nobody knew, not a soul, not my soulmate partner, Jeremy, who lived with me at the time. Just nobody knew because I had this shame about it. I felt, unconsciously, I felt really out of control. So it was a secret. I remember thinking at times, I hope I don't have an accident and wind up in hospital for any length of time, not because I don't want to have an accident, but because people will find out about my debt because I won't be able to make the minimum repayments. So, that was the turning point for me, or the start of the turning point. What then happened was I was so anxiety ridden. A few days later, I was speaking to another coach who was a friend of mine. Michaela, yes, getting a credit card is like a rite of passage. It was when you're younger. And it absolutely is very, very recent, 2018. So it was sort of March 2018. I was really anxious, stressed, and I was having a conversation with a coach, a friend of mine, and we were just chatting, and she could sense that I was really agitated. And I just thought, I'm going to burst here. You know, I just felt my solar plexus was just like throbbing. It was just like this pressure from the inside pushing out. And she asked me what was wrong, and I started to tell her. I told her I had this debt, and I thought it was around 35,000. And it was her reaction that was the trigger for me. She actually said, "Oh my God, you must be so strong." So I was like, "So strong? Why?" She said, "Because so many people commit suicide for less debt." So bearing in mind at this point, I told her I thought it was 35,000, and that comment just struck me. And I, you know, we ended the conversation, and she said, "If you need anything, let me know," and all of this. And I actually did a bit of research around debt and suicide, and the figures just shook me to my core, scared the living daylights out of me. And that was where I decided, I committed then that enough was enough. That was my rock bottom. And so I started the process. So I'm going to share with you sort of key steps of that process that I took. So if any of this is resonating with you, then please, please, please watch this live stream, take good notes, comment in the comments just to help seal in some of the stuff that you'll be getting from this live stream. Okay, so let me just check my notes. Yeah, so basically from there, at that turning point, I then decided that I needed to make the change. And in order to make the change, I started to pull out all of the numbers. In truth, I was actually £47,788 across all my debts. In debt, 47,788. So there was a mix of things there. I owed some money to my mum. I had my £3,500 overdraft that I was living in, and all my credit cards. So in total, 47,788. And that, of course, didn't, you know, completely separate from my mortgage. So I was maintaining all my payments. You know, I earned enough in my business to keep all my payments, and I was doing well in my business, you know, but this was just something I just couldn't seem to break. So from that moment, within 6 months, I put myself through this process. Within 6 months, my life had completely turned around. And within 9 months, I was completely paid in full, as I called it. I never called it debt-free, because even the word debt just sent a shot of cortisol into my bloodstream and stressed me out. So I redefined it as being paid in full. And so within 9 months, I was completely paid in full, and I was published my #1 best-selling book, paid in full. That went to #1 in 3 different categories, which were from sort of psychology to personal finance. So in that really condensed period of time, everything changed for me. And, you know, as the book got published, I had complete strangers reaching out to me, writing to me, thanking me for changing their lives. It was such an emotional experience. And then somebody actually read the book and said, you know, I'm waiting for the workbook to go with this book. And that gave me the idea to create my course and my program. So long story short, I then piloted this 8-week course, and I took 22 people, I think it was 21, 22 people through my process, and they got incredible results. You know, just very, very quickly, there were shifts in their money story, shifts in how they felt about money. They started to pay off the debt really quickly. I got a message about a month ago, one of the girls who went through it, within 8 months, she's cleared £32,000 of debt. She said there's still a bit to go, but you know, what a significant amount to have paid off. So from there, then I set up the Paid in Full and Prospering Academy. So it's, you know, a phenomenal experience for me. And it's just one of those things where I never imagined, even if you said 3 years ago, you'd be teaching people how to break free from debt, knowing my own kind of toxic relationship with debt. I would never have imagined it. So I want to share with you that no matter what your starting point is, no matter how much debt you have, you're not alone, and you can break through it, and you can actually break through it really quickly. Because I know for me, I was daunted by the thought of, oh God, if I set up a minimum payment plan, it's going to take me 10 years plus to pay this off. that in itself is not an inspiring thought. It doesn't energize anyone into action. So I want you to know that actually it doesn't have to be that way. You can do it so much quicker when I share with you the principles that I'll be sharing with you. So there are 5 key steps. And I'm going to give you kind of the headings. The first key step is to decide. The second key step is to acknowledge what is emotionally, mentally, and physically. So I'm going to break these down in a second. The third step is your daily disciplines. The fourth key step is awareness, self-awareness. And the fifth step is not to postpone joy, the best one really. So the decide bit, just check, see how you're all doing. The decide bit is, you might think, I'm here, aren't I, Sanae? I'm on your live stream. I freaking have written it as my 2020 goal. I want to get out of debt. I have decided. So I want to just say to you that when I wrote my goals out every year on my New Year's resolution for 23 years, one of those was to clear my debt, as I've already said. Well, it didn't happen. The fact is that I wanted to be out of debt. I hoped to be out of debt that year, but I hadn't truly decided. And there is a gulf of difference between wanting and deciding. And I promise you, it is an incredible shift when you actually decide that you are going to be debt-free this year. So what's the difference between hoping and wanting and actually deciding? Well, when you decide, a decision means you're not available for any other outcome. You're not available for any other outcome. If I'd have decided 23 years ago I was done, I'm going to pay this little credit card off and never be in debt again, I would never be in debt again. It's a decision you make, drawing a line in the sand, and you're ready to do whatever it takes when you make a decision. So most of us get the same results day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out. You get the picture. And year on year, very little changes in the certain areas of our lives where we want to make some change, but you might have noticed it yourself. You know, there's some area where you just feel really stuck. And debt is often one of those areas. And it certainly is. If you're on this live stream and you resonate with what I'm saying, it certainly was for me, that it just, year on year, nothing changed. If anything, it got worse. So what happens is we're stuck in a loop. So if you picture a loop, and you have what, you know, one part of that loop is the result. So call that result debt, your overdraft account. And so when you look at that result, it triggers a thought. The thought might be, I hate myself. I hate debt. I'm a loser. I'm so out of control. Why can't I get this? I'm undisciplined. Why, oh, why? So that result that you're looking at triggers a thought, and it's often the same thought. Every time you look at that result, it just triggers the same thought. So you're creating really deep grooves in relation to that particular thought. So then go around the loop, that thought then triggers a feeling. It triggers emotions. Those emotions could be feelings of despair, could be feelings of shame, guilt, anger. Why am I still in this place? Or why did I invest in that program that didn't work? Anxiety, fear of my financial future. So you have these emotions that are triggered by the thought. Very intense negative emotions, you know? And so as you go around to that sort of loop, result, thought, feeling, the feelings then trigger, impact, define how we then behave, how we act, and our physiology. So you think about when you're feeling those feelings of anger, despair, shame, whatever, your physiology is going to be hopeless and despairing, isn't it? Your shoulders drop, your breathing becomes shallow, you have a knitted brow. So you're operating with that as your physiology. So if, as coaches, when we operate with that as our physiology, try doing a live stream with that feeling, or try to create a sales post or go out there and make money. It's impossible, right? It's the wrong state to be in. Maybe we cry or we go eat something, or we get drawn into some fancy marketing that promises the earth, and we just think, I really need that right now. I'll click on that one last spend on my credit card. And so those behaviors, that physiology, that activity that we then take in response to those emotions, guess what? They close the loop because they give us our results. The results, same, debt, overdrawn, more debt, further deeper into our overdraft. And that triggers the thoughts, I'm useless, I can't do this, what's wrong with me, I'm undisciplined, I'm a loser. Same feeling, same physiology, same behavior, same action, same result. So we go through this loop. And if you're trying to show up from that place, no one will buy from you with a needy, desperate, low energy. You lose more days in a funk, and spend more than you have, which obviously equals that result again. So you go around this loop consistently. So you get the picture. So what happens with decision here, the first key step, what happens then with a decision, when you actually decide, it cuts in like a wedge to break the loop. So when you look at your results, those thoughts get triggered, but at that moment you interrupt the default thought patterns by adding a new thought, a thought that perhaps you've kind of whimsically had in the past, but this time it's different. It's a decision. And so the decision might be, I am never going to be in this much debt again. I am going to break free from this situation. I am going to be debt free. So suddenly you've interrupted the loop with a new empowering thought. If you can stay there, just hold that thought for as long as you can. You start to attract more thoughts that are aligned with that thought. It's the law of attraction. The minute you have a thought that might sound like, I am going to break free from this situation, you start attracting thoughts that are a match to that one. You start to push out all doubt and fear by focusing your attention on that positive thought. You might even start thinking, well, Sanae did it. I must be able to do it too, because Sanae was in, 23 years, blah, blah, blah. So whatever thought you have to empower yourself. So when you stay in that thought process, you then release into your bloodstream, a whole new chemical cocktail. It's not the usual anxiety, stress, despair. It's your emotions start to feel good because you're now having empowering, decisive thought processes. So you feel more excited, you might feel elated, you might feel jubilant, there's more expectation there. So what happens? Well, the chemical cocktail of positivity floods your system. So you start feeling a bit more excitable, you've got butterflies in your stomach, your heart starts beating faster. And as you stay in those emotions, then your behaviors change. Think about it. Your behaviors, then you feel like punching the air, your breathing is deeper now, you're standing taller, your chest is out, you're ready to take some action. Your mind is buzzing. You might grab your journal, scan your bookshelf for books that you bought a while back on money mindset, but you either never read it or you didn't get it at the time and now you're ready, or your eyes get drawn to resources or live streams like this one. So there's a shift in what you do and how you're being. So then from that higher energy, you might write a post or do a live stream because you feel excited. And so you're changing the loop. You've broken a pattern. Now, if you can consistently stay there for as long as possible, you start to create a new pattern. And so as you start to see your results will begin to change because you've changed the other components in that loop. So maybe in the first few days, you look at your debt and you look at your overdraft balance, and nothing actually has changed. But when you look at them, you've got a different attitude towards them. You might look at those same balances because it's only been a few days, and you might be thinking, You don't belong to me anymore. Sayonara, baby. Instead of, I'm a loser. Why is this happening? I'm undisciplined. So a decision is everything at this kind of starting point. It will break that loop. I just want to share with you a quick story. I remember hearing this interview with Bob Proctor, and Bob Proctor was talking about this conversation he was having years earlier with a couple. And this couple was saying to him, because he was saying, you know, what is it you want? And this couple was saying, we'd love to buy a house. We've seen this house on the coast, and it's, you know, really, really, it's our dream home. We've driven past it a few times and we see it's for sale. Oh, we'd love to live there. And he said, well, why don't you go buy it? He said, we can't buy it. We can't afford it. And he said, well, you can afford it. You don't need money. And they were saying, what? And I remember thinking, I don't get what he's saying here. Of course they need money. And he was saying, you don't need money. You haven't decided that you're going to buy it yet. So you don't need money right now because you haven't decided. And that struck me only, you know, when I was going through the first process with my dad, I was thinking, that I get it now. You don't need money if you haven't decided to buy something. But the minute you decide that you are going to buy it, then you switch on your amazing brain and you start to seek out all the ways that you can make the money to buy it. You see, it's such a distinction, but it's so, so powerful. So making a decision will switch on your brain like nothing else. So final point on deciding invokes the powerful law of attraction, you know, in favor of your new decision. Because in making a decision, you change your point of focus. You change your point of focus, and therefore you change your point of attraction. So if you think, I really want to be out of debt, just check in. Have you decided, really? So that's the first thing. Decision will cut the loop and shift your vibration, shift you mentally, which will shift you emotionally, which will shift your behaviors and actions, shift your results. So make a decision. Okay, so let me just check in. Michaela saying that's so powerful. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Veronica. So key step 2. Key step 2 is acknowledging what is. Now, acknowledging what is really, really powerful, very emotional process, actually. And, you know, I was speaking to a client who's going through the process at the moment, and this step 1, her whole body was just kind of, she felt like her whole body was on fire because it was just such an emotional process. So acknowledging what is actually a 3-part process. The first part is getting clarity with honesty about your current financial situation. Part 2 is allowing yourself to actually feel what you feel. And part 3 of acknowledging what is unearthing your beliefs and patterns of thought. So breaking it down then, step 1, getting clarity with honesty about your current financial situation. Now, like I said, it sounds simple. It sounds simple, but it's really not easy. So, you know, it is simple, but it's not easy. So maybe you're already clear on your finances. You've got them all kind of on spreadsheets. You know to the penny or to the dime what you owe on credit card, what comes in every month, what goes out every month. If so, then great, good for you, because that's step 1 done. However, if you're like I was, or like many of the people that I speak to, this is far from your truth. So just like when you're going on a journey to a new destination and you set your sat nav in the car to where you're going, your car's sat nav has to calibrate itself to where the car is right now. Your current location has to calibrate to the current location, the starting point, in order to be able to direct you correctly. So right now, that metaphor is perfect for this first step. So if your destination is to be debt-free and prospering, but you're not 100% clear on where you're starting from, you're always going to remain off course. And I think this is why it probably took me a lot longer in those, early years, is I never allowed myself to go through the process of getting really honest with how much I actually owed to the penny. So this first step, you're going to pull out all of your statements, bring them all up online, and however you do this, whether it's on a spreadsheet in Excel or on a piece of paper, you're going to list everything that you owe in chronological order. Even if there's a £20 to a friend, even if there's a £20 like that you owe a friend, it's still in your craw, it's still in your energy, it's still in your system. Write it down. So as you write your balances and what you owe down, you're going to write them in chronological order with the smallest balances first. Also, what you're going to write down is to who it is you owe it to. So the credit card company, the person, the bank account, who you owe, how much you owe, and the interest rate. And it goes in order of smallest first. So you're also going to get a handle on your monthly outgoings and your incomings and any shortfall in your incomings. So you have this clear picture. It might be worth also on your spreadsheet including any minimum payments that you make to all your debt. So you have a clear picture of what your minimum monthly need amount is. So not your want amount, but your need amount. So it might mean you need a minimum of 3,500, for example, to cover all your expenses, all your living costs, and your debt repayment amount. So get really, really clear. So when I did this, I then knew exactly how much I needed to make in my business every month without fail, just to kind of stay static. What also with the why you put it in chronological order with the smallest balance first is when you start to repay, you're going to use the snowball method. And this is slightly controversial, but it really works. The snowball method is where you pay the smallest balance off first. So whatever that balance is, or whoever you owe it to, no matter what the interest rate is, you pull that out and you pay that first. And the reason you do that is then it gives you a sense of completion. It's a first milestone to celebrate. You feel like you're on your way because it's one down, next, one down, next. So you start to feel that in your energy, this sense of I'm moving forward, which is really powerful. So pay the smallest one first, then move on to the next one. And then whatever you're paying to that smallest one, you then take that sum of money, add it to the next payment and start paying off the second one. So you've got this like accruing balance. So you're never freeing up money as you're paying it off. You're just moving it to the next card. Okay. So let me just check in any questions. No. Okay, cool. So that's the first bit, is acknowledging what is being clear and truthful to yourself about what it is that is really your financial snapshot, your starting point. Step 2, acknowledging what is. This step is about really feeling the feelings that need to be felt here. Now, if again you're anything like I was, and I know a lot of the clients that I speak to, this is going to make you smart. This bit, it's going to make your eyes water a lot. And I'm sorry about that, but it is essential. And I promise you that this process will heal you exponentially. So this is about allowing yourself to feel what you feel, because, you know, you may not realize how much energy is expended on actually denying your feelings. When it comes to your debt, if you feel bad, you have anxiety, you have a stress around it, you're expending a ton of energy on actually pushing away the discomfort, denying it, shoving it deep inside so you can be high vibe on, from the neck up. You take a deep breath. You've got an attitude of, no, I'm going to show up for work today. I've got work to do. I've got my kids. I'm busy. I'm juggling all these plates. My kids are going to be home from school soon. So I'm going to put my best foot forward, put my face on. And what you're actually doing is you're keeping that energy inside of you, and it's festering like an infection. It is bubbling up, and it is draining you of essential energy to be able to move yourself forward. So as you keep that energy inside of you, it becomes unresolved, undealt with. And the worst part of that unresolved, undealt with emotion is that it determines your dominant frequency. So that pushing down and storing it, because you've been taught to be high vibe and positive, so you hold it in, as that dictates and determines your frequency, it's just going to attract in more crap that is a match to that frequency. So this is where the shame of it comes in. If you feel stress and anxiety and it's holding you small and it's the dominant frequency of shame, then shame will attract more shame. And so as I took myself through this process, I was listing all my debts, and I realized that what I believed was 35,000, and it was actually nearly 48,000 pounds, which I think in dollars is about, I don't know, 63,000. I allowed myself to feel what I was feeling, and it was painful, physically painful. Just allowed it to bubble up. It consumed me. My heart was aching. I physically felt the blood drain from my face. I felt cold to the bone, like it was a chilling feeling. And I just overwhelmed with shame. But instead of my default, swallow it down, you know, best face on, I allowed myself to feel it. And that was huge. And I want you to do the same. So as you look at your debt, you're going to allow yourself to be triggered. So as you allow your emotions to well up and be triggered, you're then going to, so hey, Anne, shame is a big part of debt for me. Yeah, Anne, thank you so much for sharing that. It is the dominant emotion when it comes to shame, when it comes to debt, sorry. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to sit in it. Sounds really cruel, really sadistic. I spent time tuning into my emotions and feelings like this almost every day for a number of weeks. So I would spend time sitting in the feeling, tuning inwardly to my physical responses around debt, giving space to those emotions, acknowledging the feelings. You know, feelings just want to be felt. So as you sit in the feeling and put all of your attention onto the feelings, wherever they are, it might be chronic shoulder ache, or it might be a swelling in your stomach that makes you feel sick. It might be your heart contracting. Whatever the feelings are, you're going to sit in them and feel them. What will happen is a number of things. Firstly, those feelings are being felt, thank God, so they can be allowed just to dissipate. What also will happen is you will start to trigger some thoughts. Some thoughts will emerge. So as you're sitting in the feeling, you can always, you know, I often would ask myself, what is this feeling? What is it? And what would come up would be, I'd hear things. I'm a loser. I'm a loser. That's causing this feeling. I'm out of control was one of them. I'm completely undisciplined was another one. So as I sat, all these things started to come up really vividly. So I was able to write them down. So once I know, I've associated my debt with being a loser, with having no control, and that makes me feel bad. So this process allows you to connect to the beliefs and patterns of thought that is determining these emotions, which leads into step 3 of acknowledging what is. Unearthing the thought patterns and the beliefs that are creating this dominant frequency. So as you tune into your feelings, I promise they will dissipate. That's part of the acknowledging feelings process. It's part of the healing process, Don't ignore your emotions and your feelings. But while you're sitting there, allowing them to be felt, allowing yourself to tune into what comes up, those thoughts and beliefs will come up. So you might even have memories, where I had experiences from childhood will come up as you're focusing on that feeling and putting all of your attention on it. Stories will come up, memories from childhood that have some resonance with your current situation. So I've had a client tell me that they remember things like, their parents. One memory came up for a client where her mum, she remembers distinctly her mum bitching with a neighbour, bitching about a neighbour, saying that she bought a car on the never never. So I don't know if you know that expression, on the never never, but it means on credit. People say, oh, she's living on the never never, which means a term for endless credit. So when my client recalled that memory, that she was completely deeply steeped in her subconscious, she realized that these feelings of shame were about her mum disapproving of her and having this debt, because she's living on the endless never never, and she remembers her mum judging this neighbor. Another client remembers how her parents were always in conflict. Her dad was this sweet, kind man, was always spending on his credit card and really bad with money. And then on the other hand, it was her mum who was always shouting at him for being a spendthrift. And she wanted to be like her dad. She wanted to be kind and sweet and loving. So for her, the internal conflict was, well, I want to be all those things that my dad was, but that equals being in debt. So all of this clarity comes forward as you connect to those feelings. You've just got to really sit quietly and allow it to emerge. Don't expect, fireworks in day one. Just do it on a consistent basis over a short period of time, and things will start to come up. So as you tune into your feelings, just allow the thoughts and beliefs to rise to the surface and write them all down. It's from there that you can begin to see what they are for what they are, and then reframe them and realize these aren't your truths. So let me see, any questions coming up? No. Oh, Kitty's joined. Hey, Kitty. Okay, so the third key step is your daily disciplines. So you may be doing step 2 over a period of a few days to a few weeks, and I would encourage you to do that. These processes are never one and done. There are layers to us, and layers to our emotions, and layers to our feelings of shame that have built up over time. So allow yourself just to go through that process over a period of time. So step 3 then is about creating changes. So you've decided, key step 1, you're clear, you've raised some awareness to what you've been vibing at, you've begun to reframe those negative thoughts and feelings. Now you're going to empower your state by installing some new daily discipline. So this is like the muscle flexing stuff, the strength building stuff, so that you're taking this physical action, but now you also want to start kind of flexing the mindset muscle, those mental and emotional strength muscles. So there's so many different things I could share with you, but I'm aware of time, so I'm just going to give you some key disciplines, mindset processes that I would recommend you do on a daily basis. So if you need to get a chart that you cross off every single day and you don't break a day so that you can maintain your discipline, this will transform your life within 14 to 30 days, I promise you. So the first thing you're going to do is track your income. So buy a calendar, a month to view calendar, and track everything that comes in. What you focus on expands. What you appreciate appreciates. So whether that's, income from benefits, income from client receipts, income from gifts of money, coupons for a free coffee, or money off for your favorite item in the supermarket, it all represents money. It's all money. Write it down. Start to be aware Start to be aware of the abundance in your experience. Sorry, the neighbour's just nipping out, so Joey's going crazy. So even if you find a penny, you've heard this endless amount of times I'm sure you've had when it comes to kind of money manifestation. But even if you find a coin in the street, pick it up. The denomination is irrelevant. It's money. It's a symbol. It's a demonstration. It is money, and it's there on the street, and it's calling you in. And the reason I say that is because we can only perceive that which we are a receptor to. So you saw that penny on the street. Another time when you're deep in a funk, you wouldn't have seen it. So see the fact that you're seeing those coins in the street as a sign that you are actually perceiving money now. You're in a new vibration. So pick it up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There's gold dust in the air, whatever it is you want to say, but just be grateful and log it. So it's receipts, income coming in, money coming in, gifts. If somebody buys you a coffee, write it down. It's an expression of a gift of money. They've spent their money buying you a coffee. I'm going to rephrase that. They're circulating their money and they bought you a coffee. We don't use the word spend in the paid in full. We're circulating money, not spending money. So track your income, first discipline. The second discipline is create, this is really important actually, create visual representations of your results. So whatever your result is, create a visual for it, you know, like a vision board, but for your specific outcome of being debt free. So what would be a visual representation? For me, it was I printed off all my credit card statements, and I whited out the balances. I cleared the balances so it read as 0. I had full credit available to me, and I drew a red stamp, paid in full. So I wonder if I've got one to show you. I don't think I have, but one sec. So I did that. I drew on all my statements. So basically, you can see there. I don't know if I can. So that was what I drew on my bank statements, just paid in full, exactly like a red stamp, put it on all my bank statements. And that was a representation that for me, the visual representation that I was debt free. The other thing that I did was, because I had this overdraft, I printed my balance, my bank statement. I added a few extra noughts and put some, you know, whited out the minus sign, and I wrote overflowing, because that word resonated with me. Abundance at the time didn't resonate with me, but I wrote overflowing on my bank statement. And so it's whatever visual representation works for you that is a demonstration that you are at that result you want to be at. And then put them up everywhere, pin them everywhere, immerse your subconscious in this new message. That's what you're doing. You're imprinting a new story into your subconscious. The third key discipline is spend 5 to 10 minutes immersed in your visualization of what will be happening when you're debt free. So this was a Joe Dispenza visualization technique that was so powerful for me, and that is understanding how visualization actually works. So in a nutshell, as you get clear and specific on exactly what will be happening when you are debt free, create a visual, a mental visual representation. So get clear on what you will do, or the bigger purpose behind being debt free. So think about questions like, you know, why do you want to be debt free really? How will you feel when you're debt free? Who will you tell first? How will you celebrate? What will it enable you to do? Who will you become in the process? So as you visualize that next level version of you, or you visualize the moment that you're announcing to your family at the dinner table that you've cleared all your debt, or you're sending off that final statement, or you're creating a mini bonfire in your garden and burning all your credit cards, whatever it looks like to you, go there in your mind every single day for 5 to 10 minutes. And it's not just visualizing, but it's actually allowing your body to feel it with every fiber of your body's being. Because what happens is your subconscious doesn't know whether it's real or not, whether it's real or imagined. It doesn't know. So it thinks it's happening, because you're flooding your system with all these chemicals and cocktail of, hormones that tells your subconscious that this amazing experience is happening in your reality. So what happens is you create a memory in your body, a physical memory on your subconscious mind. And so you do that again the next day, the memory gets stronger. You do it again, the memory gets stronger, it gets stronger, it's stronger. It just becomes a part of who you are, becomes within your energy. This actually happened to me. Your subconscious mind believes it actually has happened. It becomes a vivid memory. What happens then? Well, it changes who you are, because you've had this incredible experience. And so as it changes who you are, it changes your frequency. So you then start vibrating as somebody who doesn't have debt. Does that make sense? It's so powerful. So as you're vibrating at somebody who doesn't have debt, it changes how you respond to, changes how you make decisions around whether I buy that thing or not buy that thing. Do I use my credit card? No, I don't use my credit card. I'm somebody who doesn't have debt. So it just changes everything. So 5 to 10 minutes every single day, immerse yourself, steep yourself in that visualization until your whole body is like vibrating with ecstasy at the feeling of it. And then it will happen. I promise you. So, if you watch the live stream training I did last week on how to ensure you get everything you desire in 2020, I shared with you the story that I mocked up this cover on Fiverr. So I had this cover mocked up by a graphic designer in Fiverr, and I literally printed it, covered this piece of A4 with this picture on it over another book, and every day I put my hands, I held it, I stroked it, I ran my fingers across the title. And I just pictured being published and giving this book to my partner at our Christmas party. And I did that every day. Sometimes I had tears rolling down my cheeks just with the emotion of it. And I pictured every day. I didn't know how to write or publish a book. This was just all in my imagination. And I knew the reason I chose the book was I knew that was going to be my visual representation, that if I could do this, if I could clear the debt, then I would write a book about it, because I had to share it. If I could do it, anybody could do it, seriously. And so this became my purpose, I guess. And within 9 months, I've done it. I've got the book. It's published. I'm handing it to Jeremy as the surprise, exactly as I imagined it. Moment by moment, it happened exactly as I imagined it. I couldn't have written it any clearer, and it happened exactly. So visualization, flood your subconscious with the image. As I said, it doesn't know the difference. So you will shift at a cellular level. And by law, if you're shifting at a cellular level, you change your frequency, then by law, you attract that experience. Okay, so very, very powerful. A few other daily disciplines that I would encourage you to do. Check your daily bank balance every single day. Go in, log in, set an alarm. This is what I did. I set an alarm and I checked in my bank balance. Now, for those of you in credit in your bank account, go in there, look at your bank account, see the credit balance, and express gratitude that there is money in your account. However little it is, be grateful for the money you have now. So go in and express gratitude, but do it every single day. If, like me, you're overdrawn, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go into your bank account every single day. You're going to look at that overdraft balance, and you're going to trick your brain. So what you do is you go in, as you look at that balance that's overdrawn, you then focus your attention on 3 areas where there is abundance in your life. So I used to look at that balance. It was 3,500 overdrawn. And as I was looking at the balance, I would then think about the abundance of love I have for my family, for my partner, for my friends. I've got so much love in my heart for these people. I'm so grateful for the abundance of love. Second thing, oh, I've got so much food in my fridge and the food in my cupboards. It's just such an abundance of food in my life. I can just go out now and go to the supermarket. There's just so much food everywhere. What an abundance of food. I'm so grateful for how much food is in our lives. Third thing, I'm so grateful for just the abundance of clean, warm water. I just turn on a tap and it's there and it just flows and it's so abundant. So every day, 3 things, same, different, doesn't matter, but 3 things, because what you then train your brain to do is as you're looking at your overdrawn balance, you're thinking about abundance. So your brain then connects that, oh, my bank balance equals abundance. Amazing what will then happen to your overdrawn bank balance. It will start to trickle into credit before you know it. It is mind-blowing. I cannot tell you how important this work is. You are so powerful. Your thoughts are so powerful. So you're teaching your brain to attach abundant mindset to your bank account. Okay, another daily discipline, cardiovascular aerobic exercise. Now, this might sound like a weird one when it comes to debt, but you are holistic. You are holistically emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical. So when you are physically in peak condition, it ripples into your emotional health, your spiritual health, and mentally you are better off. So, you know, I'm not going to go into all the benefits of exercise. You don't need me to tell you that. But cardiovascular exercise specifically, the stuff that gets your heart pumping, shifts you emotionally, spiritually, mentally, more clarity, all of that. You don't need me to go into that. But that would be a daily discipline that I would tell you don't skip. Not only that, you feel good about yourself, you feel stronger in every way, you feel proud of yourself, gives you more energy, you're breathing more deeply. It is essential to this process. And then, of course, I'm not going to leave daily disciplines without including a daily gratitude practice. Again, gratitude, it's from biblical times to modern science. Gratitude puts you at the source of everything you desire. So every single day, write out in your journal 10 things for which you are grateful. The simple things, the things you might normally take for granted. It doesn't have to be big things that you appreciate. In fact, the smaller things that you just ignore, appreciate those good things. What you appreciate appreciates. Okay, so the next part is self-awareness. So I describe my journey as 6 months of living in a petri dish. So I quite literally put myself under a microscope for that period of time. I observed my every thought, my every feeling, my every behavior in the context of money and debt. And as I did that and I kind of logged it, I chronicled every day how I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing around money and debt. And as I did that, I was able to understand more about what are my thought processes? Who am I in the context of money and debt? Because until you know that, you can't change. You know, self-awareness is the first step to change. That's what they say, isn't it? So, you know, until you really know who you are in relation to money and debt, things won't change. So a quick example, it was my partner's 50th birthday during my 6-month experiment, as I called it, to get out of debt. And his 50th was kind of slap bang in the middle of it. And I had to tell him that I had nothing special planned. And this actually comes up a lot. Very similar scenarios and emotions come up a lot for my clients in the Paid in Full Academy, where I wanted to splash out. It's my loved one's big birthday, and I had to stand in the kitchen and say to him, I'm really sorry, honey, but I'm not going to be able to do anything for your big birthday this year that, you know, like I want to, like a lavish city break away or, you know, a hotel or any of that. And as I was trying to tell him, I just got so choked up, I couldn't speak. Tears were streaming. I couldn't say what I wanted to say. And of course, he was amazing. You know, he was just so loving. He consoled me. He told me it didn't matter. And, you know, but as we're kind of in that moment, I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? what is this? Why am I crying? Why is my throat choked up? Why is this simple conversation triggering tears? What is the story that I'm telling myself in this situation that is creating such negative emotion, or such, an emotional cocktail? So I realized that, well, for me, it was about people pleasing. It was about, being approved of. There was all this stuff going on. So that would be my kind of the fourth key step, is raise self-awareness. Understand that your results never lie. Your results never lie. So whatever result you're experiencing and manifesting, it is trying to relay a truth to you about who you're being. Cause and effect. The effect is the result. You are the cause. It cannot be any other way. So dial into what are the thoughts that is creating the feelings that is creating your result. And if you have to work backwards, maybe you're looking at a result and you're thinking, how the hell did I create that? Have you ever had an experience where you think, I would not have attracted that in a million years? The law of attraction doesn't work for me. I would not attract that unwanted thing. So maybe it's an unexpected bill. It's not the thing, the result in and of itself, that is the indicator of what you're vibing at. It's the essence of it. So let's take the unexpected bill as an example. It's an unwanted, something you'd say, I've not been focusing on bills. I've not been focusing on, having to pay for a car breaking down. Why would I attract my car breaking down and me having to fork out more money? And it's confusing, right? So what you've got to understand is the car breaking down, meaning forking out more money and being an unexpected bill, that in and of itself is simply a match to the frequency. So you have to interpret the essence of the experience. So for example, the easiest example I always use is, if you manifested a broken leg and you think, I haven't been thinking about accidents or broken legs, how have I manifested this? Think about the essence of the experience of a broken leg. How do you feel? How does it, what's it a match to? You might think, it makes me feel held back. It makes me feel left behind. It makes me feel slower than everybody else. And as you start to see, oh, that's what I've been focusing. It's true, because I've been complaining about how everyone in the coaching industry, they seem to be propelling themselves really fast and I seem to be slowed down. Oh, that's why I attracted a broken leg. It's a match to the essence of what I've been vibing at, not the thing in and of itself. So, an unexpected bill could just be a match to, being unprepared. Are you always talking about, things just surprise me, or I always get nasty shocks, or, I've got a fear of spending money? All of those could actually be the reason you've manifested an unexpected expense. So always connect to the emotional essence of the experience. What are the emotions revealing to you about your point of focus? Life's full of nasty surprises. I'll never have enough money, etc., etc. Boom, your car breaks down. Boom, you get an unexpected bill. So you've got to take a moment to zoom out of the experience, get a broader perspective. What is the translation, the essence, frequency translation of that experience? So I hope that makes sense to you guys, that it's not the experience in and of itself. So just very quickly then, once you've isolated the chronic pattern of thought, so, life's full of nasty surprises, hence nasty surprises, unexpected bills, car breaking down, then step one to change it is be kind and compassionate with yourself rather than self-admonishing and critical. Celebrate the awareness and the clarity, because you're not only are you focusing on clarity and awareness, but you're celebrating, and that feels wonderful in and of itself. Then take action. What needs to happen immediately for you to address the situation, and then you can rewrite the story. So if it's life is full of nasty surprises, then just change. I choose to believe that life is full of wonderful surprises, that the universe is serving me and supporting me. So whatever the opposite is, just I choose to believe. I choose to believe. So the broken leg example, I choose to believe that I am going steadily at my own pace. I choose to believe that I'm always right where I need to be. I choose to believe that I'm happy, where I am. So as you change that and choose to believe in something more empowering, you start to notice more things in your peripheral vision. Your reticular activating system in your brain, which acts like an antenna, switches on, and guess what? You start noticing things in relation to that new point of focus. Okay, and so the final step in this process, there's sort of lots of other bits in here, but I've just kind of cut out and pulled out the higher level things. The fifth step is stop postponing joy. So when I started my journey, it was entirely about repaying debt. I knew that I had to break through limiting beliefs and subconscious patterns that were perpetuating my situation. I knew that. I imagined it would be hard, and a part of me was actually afraid that I would achieve my goal, but I'd still have that same germ of debt seed inside of me, that perhaps I'd fall back on my old patterns, and we'd be here again in a year or two and I'd be deeper in debt. But the biggest thing I was unconsciously doing was I was postponing joy, because I believed that I needed to be debt-free in order to fully enjoy my life. So I was prepared to do the work, whatever it took, to free myself. But what I wasn't expecting was the realization that we need to experience joy now. And this is why when you go through acknowledging what is, so step 2 of the process, and you feel the feelings and you allow them to dissipate, you start to neutralize the shame and negativity you have around debt. You can start to experience profound levels of joy, no matter what's going on around with the debt situation. If you can get rid of the shame, you start experiencing more joy, giving yourself more experiences to feel really that fulfill you with passion, doing more of the things that you love to do, having more, experiencing more hobbies, being with your friends and families, being with people that you love. That in and of itself will start to shift your financial situation. One of the things that I did, and this was from Abraham Hicks, was I began to notice little joyful things that I could say, I did that. I did that. So even if it was things like driving down the road and the lights would go green as I'm approaching so I can keep driving on, and I'd go, thanks, green lights, I did that. Because I started to believe that, well, if I can perceive something positive, then it means I'm vibing at positivity. I'm vibing at that highest frequency. That's why these good things are happening to me. These good things couldn't be happening if I wasn't vibing at, good times and joy. And so as you start to look around, just start noticing, even if you call your kids down for tea and they come down immediately and sit nicely, just think to yourself, I did that. Start doing it with all the things that you might normally ignore. It's not joyful enough. You start saying, I did that because it's happening, because I'm perceiving good things around me. Therefore, I'm vibing at good times and joy. So I hope that makes sense, guys. So Anne Harbert saying, I say everything is always working out for me. Yeah, I love that. Everything is always working out for you, because it is. And so when you can get under the surface and clear out that frequency of shame, everything, it's like a game changer. Everything will shift and do a 180. I promise you guys, this stuff is so powerful. I really realized how powerful we are as physical beings doing this work. So that's it. As I said, an outline of the key steps to creating freedom from the emotionally crippling situation of debt that can keep you so small in life and your business. And as I said at the beginning, I would never have believed it if somebody had said to me, you would be helping other people break free from debt. And that's why it feels so purposeful for me, because I know how it feels. I know how painful it is, how stressful it is, and how it really can, screw with your thinking and your ability to grow your business. So I just want to share with you that I have my academy. The Paid in Full and Prospering Academy is open now for new members. This is a process that I take you through. You work with me for 12 months, because in that time I want you to be free completely. So 12 months spent in the academy. The investment is $670 for the full year, or you can pay monthly $67. So the annual payment has a 2-month discount. 2 months for free. So if you want more information, I've put a link above this live stream to the Paid in Full and Prospering Academy. People are getting incredible results in there. Like I said at the beginning, one woman in 8 months paid down £32,000 worth of debt. So we want to really start slaying those small ones, and it starts just creating that snowball effect and moving on to the big ones. So if you've got questions, you can put them in the comments, or I'm more than happy if you want to private message me. I know it's a very sensitive subject, then please feel free to do that. Okay, guys, so just very quickly, next week I'm going to be sharing with you, next week's training, I'm going to be sharing with you a revolutionary approach to becoming a productivity ninja. So you'll never, ever, ever complain again about not having enough time. You're going to banish to-do lists. You're going to have loads more time to have more fun and just get so much more done. So that's next week's training. I'm on a roll with these weekly trainings. So guys, thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed this. You know, like I said, it's a really serious subject. I know it creates stress and anxiety, but it's absolutely possible to clear it in a really, really quick amount of time. All right, my loves. Mwah. As always, sending you a ton of love. And if you have questions, please, please, please don't hesitate to message me. All right, I shall speak to you all again later. Bye for now.